So today's question is, so to whom do you listen? Or whom are you listening to? And I think that's a really good question to take on with the passage out of Matthew, because it's really a whole analogy to the sort of voices we hear in our own lives, right? Now, most of us aren't having in the story, you have this voice of Jesus versus the voice of the devil, and for most of us, it's not really our situation. It's more, we're trying to figure out, where is God leading me? How can I hear the Spirit? And then there's all these other voices out there, right? Telling us all sorts of things we could be doing, and sorts of things we ought to be doing, and sorts of things we should be doing. And if you are a good parent, you do this, and if you are a good worker, you do that, and if you are a good leader, you should do this, right? And so that's what we're taking on today, through the lens here. Because I think what we need to do is understand that each one of these temptations is a different sort of voice that we encounter in our daily lives. So let me walk you through it. Temptation number one. Jesus is super hungry, right? It's been 40 days, 40 nights, he's famished. Devil comes out. It's worth noting, what does the devil say to him? The devil says, if you are the Son of God, right? So insult right off the bat. If you're really you, and you're hungry, then make this stones into bread. Prove to me you're really you. So he's playing off of two things, right? He's first trying to make Jesus insecure or defensive, right? He's coming in with an insult. And then he's saying, hey, if you're really you, prove it to me and feed yourself. You've got to be starving. Now, if you think about that approach, is that not the approach of like every commercial ever? Right? Every cosmetic line, it's like, well, you could look like this. But if you go ahead and use our wrinkle cream, you'll look like this. It's every diet commercial, same way, right? Let me show you a horribly obese person. This is you. Do our diet and you'll be this person who's in, and they'll say like after 90 days, you're like, this doesn't even look like the same human, right? I mean, this is sort of advertising 101. You create a problem and then sell the solution. And so I think for us in our modern day, where we run into it is exactly that. The land of advertising. Right, guys? When you watch the Super Bowl, we all learned that if you drank the right beer and put on the right body spray, you would have all the women, right? And that is exactly not at all how it works, right? Okay? In fact, I don't know about you, when was the last time you actually saw a commercial where they sold you the thing they were selling you? No one gets up there and says, this is the best car, and the reasons are, let me give you all statistics as to its safety and fuel mileage. No. I've had so many commercials that I've watched, right? And like I'm a third of the way in the commercial and I still don't have a clue what they're trying to sell me because there's some person up there talking about like intrigue, beauty, speed. And I'm like, is this perfume? Is this a car? Is this a travel vacation? And then they sit in a car and I'm like, oh, it's the car. Got it. Right? Because what do they sell? They don't sell you the thing anymore. They sell you the lifestyle. If only you had this thing, you would be fulfilled and your life would be perfect. That is the equivalent voice. We've all known people, if we've lived long enough, that have fallen for that voice. The only thing any of us have is the time we have on earth. And so the big question we have is when we're on earth, who do we listen to? What do we listen to? Because whatever we listen to is going to be slowly but surely what our life is about. We all know people whose life is a never-ending pursuit for that next thing that will surely fulfill them when they have enough money to buy it. Because it will give them that lifestyle, the commercial promise, and they know that will surely make them happy now. What we know if we live long enough is it never does. Never works out that way. Guys, no matter how much Axe body spray. Okay? Here's the thing. That is one set of voices. Second set of voice. To understand this one, we got to really dig into the story for a second. So it's not when people pick up quickly. What's going on here is Jesus has been taken to Jerusalem by the devil. He's put on the top of the temple. Okay? It's the highest building in the biggest city in his area. And the devil turns to him and says, Jesus, throw yourself off. It is written, angels will catch you on your way down. You'll survive. Now, I don't know about you. This seems like a really weird temptation, right? Like, hopefully none of you are out there horribly tempted to throw yourself off a building anytime soon, right? Like, this is not a classic temptation. Like, why would you want to do this? Especially if you're Jesus and you're just starting your ministry. But here's the temptation. If you are Jesus and you were to go to the pinnacle of the temple and you were to throw yourself down and you were to be catched by angels so that you do not hit the ground, you know who's going to see that? Everybody. All the Pharisees, all the Sadducees, all the scribes. You know who's in Jerusalem? Pontius Pilate sits in Jerusalem. You know who's in Jerusalem? Herod lives in Jerusalem. All these folks are in Jerusalem. We'll know that because when we get to Palm Sunday and Maundy, Thursday, and all these, where are they? Jerusalem. And so what he's giving is an alternate plan. Basically going, Jesus, your dad's plan is you die on a cross. I don't know about you. I think that's a crummy plan. Let me give you an alternative. Throw yourself off the temple. The angels catch you. You don't die. Everyone sees it. The Pharisees, Sadducees, Pilate, and everyone believes in you. And voila, job done. Much less painful. Now that sounds like a pretty darn good plan. And some of you are wondering, like, so why did he not say yes? Why he didn't say yes is this. If Jesus doesn't die on a cross, there's no Easter, folks. There's no Easter. There's no forgiveness of sins. There's no forgiveness of sins. The death, the devil, and sin doesn't get defeated. That's the devil's play. Everyone might believe in the Messiah and might believe in Jesus, but no one will be saved. Going for the short-term loss than have the long-term win. Lose the battle, win the war is what the devil's thinking. Happens in our own life. There are things that are in and of themselves good that can distract us. For example, how many of you know someone, it doesn't matter which political party, that when there's a big political election, they are stuck on whatever their favorite news source is? Okay? And then the election comes, and if their person wins, they're like, yes! And if their person loses, they're like, no. Right? This is becoming more and more common. I had people absolutely terrified when Trump won. I had people absolutely terrified when Trump lost. I had people absolutely ecstatic when Trump won. I had people absolutely ecstatic when Trump lost. The reality is, no matter who is president or your congressperson or senator, well, both parties have platforms and they have good things and they have bad things. If you are living and dying by your party, by your platform, or by a politician, you're not listening to Christ, you're listening to them. It should not ruin or make your day, no matter what party wins what. If it does, there's something not okay with that relationship. You can be worried, you can be tuned in, you should be civically engaged. But if you're crying tears of joy or tears of pain with win and loss, something's gone to a bad place. Because it's probably not going to actually change your life that much, one way or the other. Here's the thing. There's good things in both platforms, and it's very good to be civilly engaged. I have a degree in political science, after all. I'm all for people being politically engaged, and you should be, for whatever it is you believe, for whatever party you're part of. But you can't let those voices replace the voice of the Spirit. Well, the voice of the Spirit can definitely call you to get politically active on something. I would never deny it. Make sure you're listening to the voice of the Spirit, not the voice of the world of punditry, politicians, and platforms. because you may end up spending your entire life pursuing something that's noble, but also pursuing something that God didn't call you to, and therefore miss the whole point of everything. Third temptation. This one's pretty transactional, so think a little bit more straightforward. Takes him to the highest mountain in the world, shows him all the kingdoms of the world, says, listen, let's get done with this whole thing. I'm not playing around anymore. I will give you everything I got. You got the whole world, and in return, you worship me. Simple as that. You worship me, you get everything. Don't worship me, you missed out. Okay? And we've all met the person. Okay? Well, what's the temptation here? Well, the temptation is this. Jesus, if he was king of the world, emperor of the world, the poor would be fed, or the poor wouldn't be poor anymore. The hungry would be fed. The naked would be clothed. All the social justice we want would have been done. Everything we needed would have been properly ordered. There would no longer be injustice. There would no longer be hunger. We would have world peace. We would have everything that we say we want. We would have had it instantly. And yet, just like the last one, the things we wouldn't have, the things we wouldn't be able to get would be the things we can never get, which would have been the defeat of the death, devil, and sin. Because if Jesus had been president of the world, emperor of the world, no one would have put him to death, almost by definition, right? No sins would have been forgiven, no Easter would have happened. And we see this too. I don't care if you're talking about school districts or the church itself or politicians or, heck, quarterbacks in the NFL. We see this scenario over and over. Someone raises to a level in whatever institution we're talking about. And maybe they're doing a lot of good, but then a time comes where they stop doing as much good as they used to. Brett Favre. Yeah, I can start a list, right? Tom Brady. Okay? And there comes a time where people go, dude, it might be time for you to do something else. Not that you haven't done good, not that you aren't doing good, but maybe it's time for the next generation of whatever. And what does the person inevitably say? I would love to. However, if I just had a little more power, if I just got another promotion, if I just had another year, I surely could fix this whole mess. And yet by then, they're often part of the mess in the first place. Right? And I think that's the same sort of voices we hear, because sometimes the voices are from outside of ourselves, but sometimes the voices we hear are from the inside too. So as you go out this week, I pose to you the question of the week. So to whom are you listening? Are you listening to where the Spirit calls you? Or are you listening to any number of other